if you get a client, and you're going to have one eventually, you're going to have one, and you're going to have two, and you're going to have three. The first thing I want to say to you, if you have a disgruntled client that you've produced work for, and they come back and they're not happy, you need to ask yourself a few questions. Did they have buyer's remorse before they started? Before they signed the contract? Were they nickel and diming you to death? Because if they are, that's a red flag for you. I'll say, I'm not the baker for you. Okay? Because you're going to have problems in the end. It doesn't matter how good of a job you've done, they're probably going to have buyer's remorse. Buyer's remorse is very strong. It outweighs will, and it outweighs want. Okay? Buyer's remorse outweighs. When it's said, and it's really easy to have buyer's remorse after you eat that cake, and it's gone. There ain't nothing to show for it. Okay?
Yep.
Really easy. But especially like for a wedding cake or a special occasion cake, where that cake is such a prominent aspect of that event, before you respond to that client, first of all, remember what the experience was with that client to begin with. What's your relationship with that client? What was the environment like? What was the climate like when you were meeting with that client? Think about that first. Secondly, think about really and truly at this point, what can you do? Ask yourself, what can I do now to make this client happy? The wedding's over, the first birthday's over, the sweet 16's over, quinceañera's done, everybody's gone home, everybody's had cake, or they didn't, even if they didn't like it. You can't go back and reproduce that cake or that event. So be very thoughtful in the way you respond to a disgruntled client. Whether it's buyer's remorse, whether it wasn't the right color of peach, or the right color of teal, or if it was buttercream and it should have been fondant, or it was late, or whatever, if they received what you gave them, and they partook of it, and they accepted it, which is good business practices, and there's methods to be able to be able to protect yourself with all these things. And then they call you back 3 or 4 days later or after the honeymoon and say, I'm just not happy with my cake, but here's the reasons why. More than likely, they're going to spill out a long list of blah, 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 blah. It's going to be a long email or a very uncomfortable phone call. And I'm going to tell you the first thing you do is you sleep on it. You don't ever respond immediately, ever. Even if you're talking to them on the phone, the best way to respond with them is, notice I'm not going to say I'm sorry for not giving you what you ordered, because if you did your job, you probably did give them what you felt was their order. I apologize for the lack of communication or the failure in communication. That's what you're apologizing for. Let me think about this, and I will get back with you. And any reasonable person is going to accept that statement to you. And if they're not reasonable and they're not willing to accept that statement, you need to really be quiet. Okay? A fish that don't open its mouth never gets caught. So I encourage you to sleep on it. And then I encourage you to write out whatever it is, not in an email, but in a Word document. Write out everything you want to say to them, good, bad, ugly, indifferent, and save it to your computer. And then go back and the next day and write a response in less than 10 words, in 10 words or less, of how you can make the situation right. Be very thoughtful, and if you can't do it in 10 words or less to respond to a conflict, don't respond until you can. Verbally, same thing. I would advise you as well, don't respond to anything verbally. And if you're going to respond in writing, remember it's recorded forever. I think that's probably some of the most sound advice I was ever given. And the way I typically respond to a disgruntled client in an email would be, how may I make you happy? And I wait for their response. Because if you're very distinct in your reaction, you'll get a reaction back. And it's usually something that you can actually do. But you got to be very distinct in your communication with them and asking them specifically, what can I do to make you happy at this point? They're going to let you know. And if they can't let you know, then there's nothing you can do about it. Does that answer?
Yeah. Yeah. What if they come back with the response of, I want a full, complete refund?
No.
There you go.
Did you eat the cake? Did you eat the cake? I have asked that question. Well, yes. Then no. You're not getting a full refund. People will try that with you too. All right? They'll eat the cake, the party's over, it's been 3 days, 4 days, they get their credit, or it's been a month and they get their credit card bill and they're like, oh, this really wasn't worth it. That's buyer's remorse. That's the epitome of buyer's remorse. I want a full refund. It's not what I ordered. Bring the cake back, and I will happily give you a full refund.
And that's the way it should be.
They're not going to bring that cake back. You know what? They're going to eat that cake.
Yeah, man, we could talk for hours and hours, but we are over time, and we do have to get to the giveaway because this is the huge part.
Now.
So, no, seriously, everybody here, I've been watching the comments come through, and I'll share with you the link, Jay, so that you can come back and look at all these comments. But so many people just, thanking you so much, and all the amens that you can imagine, because it is the truth. It is the cake truth. We really need this, and there's so much more that you have to share. Like you said, you have the business background. Some people. There were a couple of questions about, marketing plans and things like that. That's stuff that we couldn't get into today, but through a consultation with you, Jay, you guys could actually get, all of that information. And these consultations are customized to you and your business, and he really does go above and beyond and create a situation where you can grow, and you can, whether you're a beginner or whether you've been doing this for 20 years, you need to have something that is going to help you to reach that next level, or maybe you've actually had some successes. That would be wonderful. But there's always more to improve on. So
the cool part about this industry is, and I'm living proof of this, is that if your goal is to be published in a magazine, it's doable. If your goal is to do a superstar's wedding, it's doable. If your goal is to get on television for what you do, it's doable. Or even not what you do, because I'm not a cook, but I got cast on TV as a cook. Okay? I'm just saying, I'm not a cook, but I played one on TV. And I can cook, but I can't cook like that. But my point is, it's doable. It's all, you got to make up, and I don't take excuses.
Oh, that's exactly what it needs to be.
And I don't, and I want, and the whole goal for this is, and the reason I started to do this and doing the consults and doing the 1-hour consults on the phone or through Google Hangout like this. It's good because, and I don't go look at your work beforehand, because I don't think it is, I think it makes me a little biased when I look at your work and I form an opinion before I get to know who you are as a business person or an artist. So I'm doing this because I want to build everyone up in this industry and educate not only the consumer but the professional. And bring you into what you want to be, whatever that is, whatever the goal is. If you want to just put your kids through college, the only way we're going to do that is to bring this business to the forefront of what it needs to be, and charge what it costs to make a profit. You've got to do the work.